Good morning.
Good morning.
Today is Monday, October 12th, 2009, and this is the start of an interview with Mr. Ernie Stoval at the RSVP offices of Catholic Services Macomb, located at 15945 Canal Road, Clinton Township, Michigan. Mr. Stoval, how are you this morning?
Oh, not bad. Yourself?
Okay.
Good.
You were born in Sault Ste. Marie in Canada,
Right?
and you took it upon yourself to enlist, I take it, in the American Army?
No, I was drafted.
You were drafted into the American Army. You were not a Canadian citizen at the time you were living in?
No, I was not. My dad took out the papers before I was 21, so made me a citizen.
Very good. And you were drafted, and you were taking your basic training where?
Camp Claiborne, Louisiana.
That's one of the hellholes of the South, isn't it?
I wouldn't know. I thought it was pretty nice.
Is that right?
Never being there before.
I've heard some rough stories about Louisiana camps.
Well, maybe there was a bunch of camps in Louisiana. But,
So what did you think of your basic training?
well, it was good training. I had 17 months of it.
And then from there you were assigned to what outfit?
I was sent to New Jersey, Camp Claiborne, and I ended up in the hospital there for a week, and when I come out, everything was gone. All the men that was with me, or I was with, were shipped out. So I signed up with another outfit that was going overseas, and shipped out, landed in Naples, Italy, and then they shipped us from there by truck up to Mussolini's old son-in-law's old farm in the mountains. And who was in there but the men that I should have shipped out with?
I'll be
They were
darned.
there ahead of me. So I was still with the same, pretty much the same outfit. Well, then, spent a couple months there, and they loaded us all in trucks, took us up almost to Rome, Italy. We unloaded out of the trucks, and stand your guard there, men, captain's coming. So the captain came, he says, all right, man, he says, I'm gonna tell you right now, this is a voluntary outfit. If you don't like it, get back in the trucks, we'll take you back to where you came from. But everybody wanted to know what it was. And the two of my buddies that was with me used to be paratrooper. And they couldn't jump anymore, so they knocked them out and put them in the infantry. So we stood there, and finally he said, there's a glider outfit, strictly voluntary, and it's 4% base pay raise as soon as you sign your name. My buddy said, hey, that's what we lost when we were paratroopers. As you signed up, I signed up. So I did. We had glider training, which was very interesting. And then they shipped us out from there up to the front lines.
How many times did you land in a glider before you went overseas?
I'd never seen a glider before until that day.
But you must have had some experience landing in it before you went overseas, right?
Well, there was 15 men plus a pilot and co-pilot, a total of 17 men.
Okay.
And we had 2 flights. One with full men capacity, and the second time we went up, there was a Jeep in the glider with 5 men and a pilot and co-pilot. And they had me sitting in the Jeep behind the wheel. So I thought that was very interesting. But the first time up, the captain says, all right, men, we're gonna cut loose. He reached up, he cut the tow rope loose. It just felt like we stopped in midair, right there. But he says, no, we're only doing it up to 1,000 feet. But he says, we don't have to land. Next thing we knew, dive, come up. He says, now, he says, we went from 1,000 feet to 5,000, but now we gotta land. We gotta get down for other trips. So we went, glided around, landed on the field, got out of the glider. I felt very interested. I'm glad I joined it. The next time, like I say, I was in the Jeep. We went up, took our flights, and landed. But I never was in a glider after that.
Pretty bumpy ride?
Very smooth. Very smooth. I've been in a small airplanes. It was just as smooth as a glider.
All right, did you land in a combat zone or was this training?
No, it was a training zone that we landed in with the gliders. And the airplane that I was referring to was at home.
Okay.
Because the dentist of the town in Fraser was Doc McKinley, and he had his own airport. Go up, airplanes and all. And I was up with him in an airplane, and I liked that. But I never did go up in any other airplanes except the big transports from the country from here to wherever we went. But that was interesting.
And then where did you go from there?
When you're referring to? From the gliders?
From the glider landings, you were in the infantry outfit?
We're still in the infantry outfit. And we had other training. And when that was over, they shipped us, trying to think. Oh, they shipped us back to Naples and across the bay to Nice, France. We had a month of MP duty there because the average man in the outfit had 4 years overseas duty without going home.
Wow.
So we went there. We pulled, I had 12 hours on and 2 days off. So I liked that. I was a guard at the, they call the officers club. It was nothing but a beer garden for officers only. And I was at the door to keep enlisted men out. Every other day I was there, 12 hours, liked it. And one man that was in charge of the bar, he come out to me, he says, about 10 minutes to 5, he says, "Soldier, we got a problem back here in the kitchen. You want to come in and straighten it out?" I don't know what he's talking about, my first day on. He takes me back in the kitchen, he says, "All right, there it is." He says, "That's an Mr. Dinnerment." I go, "Oh." It was a 6-ounce glass of cognac. And I'll tell you, I drank that, my hair just stood up and raised the helmet. But I went back out, the truck came, picked me up to go back for chow. And relief man while I was gone. And then that night, I've got to make sure everybody's out of the bar, especially soldiers. And I said, okay. He come out, he said, "Well," he says, "it's time to close up." He says, "You want to come in and make sure everybody's out?" Well, I made sure everybody, the officers were all out. So I said, "Well," I says, "it's up to you to get the civilians out of here now." He said, "Well," he says, "they're out." I said, "Okay." I said, "I'm out of here too then." "No," he says, "step up to the bar." Another 6-ounce glass of cognac.
Pretty good duty.
And holy Christmas. Man can get drunk pulling this duty.
I guess.
But it went down pretty good. And I left there, the truck picked me up, took me back to the hotel. I spent the night in bed, sleeping it off. Then I got up the next day, just ordinary duty, whatever I wanted to do for the day. And that's went on like that for the whole month. And I didn't mind that at all. So then we got word that we were going to be relieved at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So I had to turn my pistol in, was always loaded. Always carried a live gun on me. And they said, okay, you're getting relieved at 5 o'clock, you got the evening to do what you want, and tomorrow morning we're shipping out. So we went buzzing around. I got a hold of the head bartender at the bar, and he spoke real good English. He'd been in the States quite a few years, and he went back for vacation. The war broke out, and he was stranded there. So I asked him if he could go with me to buy a watch. I needed a watch. Sure, so he took me to a jeweler. He could speak good French, good English, and he was my interpreter, so to speak. So he talked to the jeweler. I got a watch that I liked. Cost me $124. I'll never forget it. And had elastic type band on it. And then on January 4th, we're up on the front lines and we were taken prisoner of war. So
The very first day that you were up on line?
no, a couple days up there. So we got marched back, and the German soldiers, the young guys, they were miserable. They were trained by Hitler himself, you know. The older generation treated us good, but the younger generation, they were rotten. So anyway, we standing there in line, the younger generation, the soldiers, you got the time, you put your, to look at the time, and they grab your arm and take the watch off. I seen that coming, so I just slid the watch up above my elbow. And no watch, fine, you're no good. Well, that's your opinion. So they start marching. And for the first 3 weeks, we averaged 20-25 miles a day on foot. And then they locked us for 2 days and 3 nights on a cattle car. It had about 6-8 inches of fresh manure in it. And that's where I got my feet froze. And we're jammed in there so tight, if we picked our feet up, we wouldn't even fall in. So then they come along, they open the door, they wanted to volunteer to go up on the roof of the box car and write POW in the snow. Nobody would do it. So they finally got smart, took us all out and was going to start marching. So we wasn't even 50 feet from the boxcar yet. And here comes them planes. And some of the guys were running for cover and this and that. That's why I run for cover. If they didn't want you, they got you. Stand there and wave your arms. So we waved our arms. I'll tell you, I could see the pilot's face as plain as I could see yours. And we're waving and flapped the wings away they went. They didn't drop any bombs or strafe us or nothing. They just left us all be because they couldn't do nothing else. So then we start marching. And we're back to this marching business. And like I say, that's why I froze my feet in that boxcar. And that night, we got to our destination, and I couldn't stand. My feet were swelling up, shoes were so tight, I had to take them off. And I took them off and set them beside me and got some sleep. Next morning, we're going to ship out again. I tied the shoes together, hung them over my shoulder. And going out the door, this German officer, "What's his loss?" And he punched. I said, "My feet are so swelled up, I can't, and frozen, I can't put my shoes on." He grabbed my shoes and threw them in a pile of shoes and hollered to somebody to do something. I couldn't understand what he was saying. Next thing I know, they got a pair of 5-buckle Hardys. It was about 3 to 4 inches longer than my foot. Put them on. I put them on. I'm marching 20-some miles that day. And when we got to our destination, I just collapsed right in the snow. I couldn't even get on my hands and knees. And I didn't realize they were all disappearing so fast. Finally, I call him my guardian angel. He said, "Come on, soldier, they got a place for us to sleep, and it's inside of a building." And you go right ahead, I can't even move. He said, no, I can't leave you here. He bent over and picked me up like a baby. He carried me in, he made sure there was a strip of straw and a blanket for me. And he made sure I had a helmet to use for a bathroom. And he made sure I got my daily ration of food, which soup they call soup with broth. You only fill that cup once, and that's all you got once a day, plus a crust of hard, blue moldy bread. And I'll tell you, I ate every doggone bit of it. I knew I needed something, and that's all we got once a day, whether we needed it or not. So, well, do what you can, and all you can.
Did the Germans treat your frozen feet? Did you see a German doctor?
Yes, this man, my guardian angel, carried me to the dispensary, but it was an American doctor who was captured. And he looked at my feet and he says, soldier, he said, I don't know what I'm going to do. He says, you definitely need medicine on your feet, and you need them bandaged up. He said, we don't have nothing here. They don't give us nothing for this. And well, do what you can, Doc. So I lost part of my big toe, my toenails, and he trimmed the worst of everything off. And to wrap it up, they didn't have no bandages, they had white crepe paper. And that's what they bandaged my feet up in. Put my socks on, put them back in these doggone galoshes, and away I went. And once a week I got to go see the doctor. While he'd been putting new fresh crepe paper on them. When I came home from overseas, I still had that crepe paper on my feet. But they finally got better. I'm walking on, but I've had trouble with my hips since then. And that's why I have to use a cane. And she got telegrams.
When were you liberated from the prison camp?
I think it was May 7th, if I'm not mistaken, 45. And we were shipped down to, first, when we were first liberated, we were liberated by the English Army. When the sergeant come in, he seen me in glasses, he said, what do you got them on for? I said, well, he took my shoes away because my feet were frozen, I couldn't get my shoes on. He hollered to somebody below him, get him a pair of shoes, what size you wear? I said 8. And he come back with an English Army shoe. Oh, I mean, I tell you, that was a good shoe. You couldn't bend the sole when you, like you do a normal pair of shoes when you walk. You walk up on your toe, and the toe had a steel clip on it, and the heel had a horseshoe clip on the heel. It was clunk, clunk, clunk.
Were they comfortable?
They were good. They fit good. And I saved them for more or less a souvenir for around home, and I came home for 60 days. And but I had Army shoes reissued to me, and I wore them. And I shipped out, I had to ship back to Miami Beach, Florida at the end of the 60 days.
Were you assigned to a hospital in Florida?
Nope, the replacement outfit.
How were the feet at that time?
Well, I was walking on them, no problem. And my toenails were starting to grow back. But my feet don't bother me, except my hips do.
And you were discharged then from the hospital?
No, it was a replacement section down there, and if I'd have known then what I knew later, I would never taken her and my baby with us. But I did that, and in 45, the speed limit was 35 miles an hour all over the United States. And that's the way I drove to Florida with her and my baby. And then I was down there 9 days, and they shipped me back up to Fort Sheridan, Illinois. And coming back up, burned a rod out in the car. I went into the Buick garage. This owner's sitting inside the parts window, and he says, "Soldier," he says, "you have a burnt out rod." I said, "No fooling." He says, "Well, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I've got one mechanic. He's got more work lined up than he can do in the next 6 months. Has you got a place where I can work on it?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "You're gonna have to pull the head. It's a big job." I said, "No, I don't have to pull the head on this car to change that rod." So he said, "You go back there and you tell the mechanic if you need any tools, you use his." I said, "I got some tools, I think I got enough." So I drove back there and I got oil drain. He said, "We're closing up." In the meantime, I sent her and my baby looking for a place to stay. She found a place and she says, "I got a room for night. And they got a place for the baby to sleep," and so on. That's fine. I asked him what time they open in the morning. He says, 8 o'clock. I says, "I'll be here." So, 8 o'clock, I was there at the door when they opened it. And I walked back and I put my coveralls on, and I went to work in my car, I crawled underneath it, drained the oil out. Well, I had the oil drained out from the night before, but I took the oil pan off, found out what rod it was, I disconnected it, pulled it down, turned the crank in a certain position. I could get it down as low as I could. I took the bolt out of the wrist pin, bolt out. I slid the wrist pin out enough to get the rod out. And I walked up and I says, "Here's my old rod." I says, "Give me a new one." And he looked at me kind of funny. He said, "How'd you do that?" I said, "I told you I didn't have to take the head off." He said, "Well, I gotta go check here for a minute. I'll be right back." He went right back and talked to the mechanic next that I was working beside. He says he was underneath it, and he come out and he went up to see you. He says he hadn't had the hood up yet. So he come back and he gave me a new rod, and I said, "I'll give me a pan gasket too. I might as well get it all at once." So I went back and put a new rod in it. The crank was a little bit out around, and I set it on the low side instead of the high side. So I went to start it, and that was it. I wouldn't turn it over. So I had oil in it and everything. I said, "I'm going to need a little tow here." And he said, "Okay." He told the mechanic, he said, "Take the record, give him a little push down the road, get him started." He didn't push it 10 feet outside the garage, and I had it running. Drove back, parked inside, and I said, "Now what's the bill on it?" He said, "All you owe me for is a rod and the oil pan gasket and the oil." He told me what it was. I forget that amount, but I got the money from my wife. She wired her dad who needed a little extra money. He sent it quick. So we paid the bill, got in the car, finished driving to Illinois.
You were a great mechanic. Did he offer you a job for
He
your
says,
rounds?
"When you get out of that uniform," he says, "you come and see me," he says, "and I got a job here for you for sure." And I'll never get his name. His name was Mr. Rice, and a Buick dealer. He owned a Buick dealership.
Did you take him up on it?
I never went back there, and I wished I had. But instead, I started the garage of my own for a while, and right after the war, and I had other things I had to do. I couldn't make enough money that way, so I went working for a dealership.
I see.
But I worked for a Ford dealership instead. I worked for them about 20 years. I was the highest paid mechanic in the garages I worked in. When they get slow, I says, "I can't take your guarantee work." I walk out, get my car and load the tools, and away I go, and the next day I'd be working in another dealership.
You must have been a great mechanic.
I had a good reputation. I don't care if it was the biggest truck they made or a car. What they wanted done, I'd done it.
Where did you learn your mechanic skills before you went into the service?
I had to do it myself. I never went to no school. The only time I went to a school was when I was in '51. I was working for a dealership in Mount Clemens, and they come out with a new Ford-O-Matic transmission, and they needed students to learn how to work on it. So there was 3 or 4 of us got together, and we went down there, mechanics from the dealership, went to Highland Park every night after work on our time. We took lessons on how to take the transmissions out, take them apart, overhaul them, put them together, put them back in the car, and away you go. And I've done that. Oh, I've done that for a few years, and no, this is no good. Warranty work was only paying $37.50 to remove and replace and overhaul that transmission, which wasn't enough, I didn't think. But they're, in the factory, they're doing it on brand new cars with no dirt, no rust, no nothing. My cars I'm working on out of the dealership is covered with mud and everything else. So, I said, I'm not working on any more transmissions unless it's paid labor. The warranty isn't enough. I had a big argument with the service manager, and well, he says, my mechanic, transmission man is on vacation. He says, and I got a car here that needs to be done today. I said, well, then maybe you better get under and do it. I went and closed my toolbox. I'm leaving right now. I don't have to work on your cars. And he soft soaped me. He says, I'm going to give you the whole price of that. He says, if you'll stay and do it. It's a very important job. I didn't believe what he was saying, but I said, all right, you talked me into it. I said, this is the last job I'm doing here. He was okay. So I done the transmission that day, less than a day's work. And I said, there's your car's done, road tested, and it's okay. And there's your work order. Do what you want with it. So I went back, cleaned my tools up, locked them up, went out and got my car, brought it in, took the back seat out, put the big toolbox in the back and the small toolbox in the trunk, and I took off. And I went to work for another dealer, and a couple, 3 months or 4 months, I don't know. I needed a part for a car or a truck. I forget what it was I was working on. And the parts department didn't have it, so they started calling around. He said, we got one located at so-and-so. I said, that's the place I quit from to come here. He said, well, he says, you want to go get it, take the three-wheel motorcycle and go. Here's your slip to get it. So I did. I went down there, stand at the parts counter for customers. They're getting me the part, and this gal come up, she says, you're Mr. Stoval, aren't you? And I said, yeah. Born with it. She says, I'll be right back. She says, this has been hanging on the wall in the thumbtack for I don't know how long. There was a check for that last job I'd done. I looked at it, and I says, will you cash it for me? I want to make sure it's good. So she cashed it for me. I signed it, she cashed it. And it was okay. And then I got the part, I went out, got on the motorcycle, went back to the other dealership, went over, put the part in it, and away I went. But I never thought expected I'd ever get that last check for that. But he told me he's going to give me the whole price, and he did. He went. Apparently, he wanted to keep me around, but he didn't.
So you adjusted to civilian life pretty quickly then?
Well, I got out in October of '45.
And did you use the GI Bill at all to purchase the house, or?
I built my own house.
You built your own house. You're a multi-talented person.
Well, I say I built my own house with the help of my relatives. My uncle and his son and another cousin were all bricklayers. My dad was a bricklayer. A lot of my uncles were bricklayers. And they'd come over on a weekend, they'd stake it out for me, and dig the footings, pour the concrete, run the mixer in order to gravel and cement, pour my footings. And my uncle and cousins would come over and they'd lay brick, and I'd mix the mortar and keep them supplied with mortar and bricks and beer. We got the walls up, roof high. But before I could go any further, I had to pour the floor, because I wanted a cement floor in there. And that's what I'd done. Cement was hard to come by, so I had to wait till the chance I could get. It just happened in November or October. And the first weekend in October, my cousin and his son always went up north bird hunting. That was opening day of partridge season. When I told them I could get concrete, and they knew it was hard for me to get, they said, well, I don't know. We're supposed to be going north, and they had a cabin up north that they always went to. So they called the hunting trip off that weekend and came over and poured my floor. And it was getting dark when they finally got it all finished. It was a nice cement floor. So we went, got the cement floor in. Then we could start putting petitions in. And her cousin was a good finished carpenter, a good rough carpenter too. So he come over on a Monday night after work, the floor set up enough. The guy started cutting 2x4s, cutting them. He put one wall up, and he says, I haven't had no supper yet, but it's getting late. He says, I'm going home. And he lived in Elginak. I said, okay. I said, I'll get more 2x4s ready. And he said, well, he says, I'm not going to be back tomorrow night. He says, I got an important meeting I got to attend tomorrow, but I'll be back the day after. I said, okay. I wasn't working. I was laid off at that time. So that next day I went out there and I started looking around. And by golly, I think I can do that much. So I cut a few more 2x4s and I laid out another wall petition. Checked how far out from the wall, this block wall he'd done. I put the petition in, and I put one in for the living room. And I had all that done when he come back the next night. He walked in, he seen all them 2x4s, he says, if you can't wait for me, he says, you go get whoever helped you do that, and I'm gone. I said, wait a minute, don't leave. I didn't do it, I didn't hire nobody. I said, I've done that myself. I called her out of the garage house that we were living in. And I said, who helped me with this petition? She says, I did. He says, you gotta be kidding me. He said, I've had apprentices work for 3 years and they couldn't do what you've done overnight. So he was so proud that I'd done it. I says, there's one thing I'm not sure of is how you do a corner with a tapered wall. He said, well, that ain't bad. So he done that in no time at all. We got the petitions up, then we put the roof on it. Well, it wasn't long. I was up in the snow putting shingles on. And all I could hear from the neighbor behind me, he got a kick up. I had to call her to throw me a broom so I could sweep the snow off before I slid off of the roof. But I got it done.
Did you keep in contact with anybody that you were in service with? Did you have any buddies that you were
Not really.
close to?
Not really. I joined the VFW.
Okay.
In Fraser. Well, I joined in Mount Clemens first. And then I transferred to Fraser when they were getting started. They didn't even have a place to meet. They just go in a barber shop or wherever they could get a place to meet. And I joined them and stayed with them. I'm still registered with the treasurer VFW.
Were you on one of the ritual teams or color guard or anything
No,
like that?
I was commander, and she was the president of the auxiliary in 1960. We both had dogs there at the same time. And I haven't been too active in the VFW in the last few years.
That's understandable, but you got that beautiful cane, and I'm sure that he's going to preserve some of that for posterity and get some good shots on that cane that you're carrying.
I hope so, because I haven't got a decent picture. It never turned out just right for this cane. If he's ready for it.
Did you?
Want it laid down? How do you want it? They're standing up like this.
Well, hold on just a second. Why don't you tell us about that cane? Where did it?
Well, I'm not sure. I got I think an article in the paper.
I need to get that on camera here. So if I can, you go ahead and tell us about it, and I'm gonna.
Do you want me to change you?
No, just no.
Well, I got this article in the paper, and I called the man up. He sent me out a form to fill out. I wanted my discharge papers. You mail it to me, and he says, I'll do what I need with it, and I'll mail it right back to you, and we'll never be hurt or nothing. Well, the paper he sent with his address on it, I went over to his house. He lived at 17 in Van Dyke, or at 17 in DeQuinder. And I met with him in his living room, and I had a cane that I was walking with. And he said, well, he says, give me the papers. He says, I'll go down in the basement, my computer, and he says, I'll take care of everything. I'll be right back up. Well, it took him a few minutes to do it. But he came back up and gave me the papers. In the meantime, his wife was making donuts or cupcakes in the kitchen, and she had the kitchen table just covered with them, sitting on plates. I go, they look good. I didn't say nothing. I'm sitting there waiting. She says, come in. She had a little plate with 2 donuts on it, or cupcakes. And she said, would you like these? I said, very much, but I said, I don't dare. She said, why? I said, I'm afraid that it's so sweet, I'm going to raise the tickles with my sugar. Well, she says, I'm sorry, you're welcome if you want. I said, thanks anyway. She gave me a glass of water. And then her husband came back out of the basement. He says, here are your papers. He says, now, he says, can I use your cane for measurement? I said, sure. So he measured my cane. He said, now I'm going to make a cane for you the same length. And he did. He says, it's going to take about 10 weeks to do your cane. I said, okay. So at the end of it, I thought it was about 10 weeks, I called him. He said, no, he says, we're overloaded, we're going to take have a couple more weeks to do it. I said, okay, no rush. So a couple weeks later, he called me up, he says, can you meet the same, where they make these canes in Sterling Heights. I don't know what building it was again. He told me where it was, in Utica Road by 17 Mile Road. I said, sure, and he lives at 17 in DeQuinder, so I said, that's no problem. I made it. And he presented me with his cane. No, he turned it already. So I said, fine. I went there and he presented it to me, took pictures, and he took pictures of her and me with the cane. He says, you're going to get a copy of all these pictures and that. I said, fine. And I had my camera, and I got a couple of pictures with it, and I don't know how the cane turned out against what I was wearing. But,
That's a great souvenir of your service to your country.
that's right.
Being a prisoner, you probably weren't able to bring any souvenirs back.
I was lucky to get myself.
You were lucky to get yourself back. Did you come back on the troop ship?
I came back on a hospital ship. I wanted to try to make out and come back by plane. But I didn't even get a chance to inquire into that. And then they had us for 2 weeks in a camp called Lucky Strike in France. And there was a, well, no, I can't even say the word. Quarantine camp, in case you got a disease or something. They wanted to catch it there. And they said if you get thirsty, you do not drink water or anything else. And outside the kitchen there, they got 2 big GI cans with eggnog. You get thirsty, you get that and drink it. Drink as much as you want. Well, I like eggnog, so I did. I made a pig of myself. But then I was there for 2 weeks, and they said, okay, man, you're going aboard a ship. You're going home. So I marched down, we got on a ship, and I'd won some money in playing poker, and they can't. And they took that all away from me, and I thought, well, that's the end of my money. But they got aboard ship. They said, come and get your money you got coming that we took from you. It was all French money they took. They're paying us back in American money.
Oh, very good.
So I had over $100. I said, well, that's all right. So I, walking around the ship after we got out of sail, I got down below deck, canteen down there. So I went up and I said, what are we selling? Just about anything you want, soldier, what do you want? I said, well, how much are your cigarettes? 50 cents a carton. And he give me 2 cartons. It's $1 worth of cigarettes for 20 packs, you know. Excuse me. So I went down every day. I got 2 cartons of cigarettes. I kept getting different brands. And family at home didn't have no cigarettes hardly. In fact, they were having a heck of a time get cigarettes and find a place where they could get them. When I come home, well, before I came home, we stopped in New Jersey, Camp Kilmer again, and it was right at noon. He said, we're going to stop here and get off the train. We'll go in and have lunch, and we'll continue on. Man, what did it catch my eye in that cafeteria style? Eating steaks. So I eat my tray with steak, mashed potatoes, gravy, all the vegetables, bread and milk, bread and butter, coffee, an ice cream sandwich at the end.
Big change from K rations.
Oh, I didn't even get K rations when I was in prison camp. So I sat down, I ate that one right there. Boy, did that taste good. And I hadn't seen a steak in so many months. I said, I think I could eat another one. I got up and I went over to the staff sergeant sitting on the other, standing there at the other side of the counter, and he says, hey soldier, I just seen you go through here and heat that tray up. And he says, you sure you can eat it again? I said, you better believe it. He says, well, he says, what you take, you better eat. I says, you won't see anything left on the tray when I get done. So I went down the line, heaped the second time. When I went back to sit on the table, right there was the only place for a small table for 4 people. Who was sitting across from where I was? The sergeant. He said, now you gotta see how much of that you're gonna eat and how much you're not gonna eat and what I can do to you after you don't eat it. don't worry, Sarge, you'll save your club. I sat there and I ate it. Cleaned it up good. Including the ice cream sandwich. As you know, I says, that was so good. And I haven't seen a statement so damn long. I said, I think I could eat some more. He said, are you kidding? I said, what did I say? I don't say nothing for nothing. He grabbed my tray and he went and heaped it the third time. He come back and he says, there you are. He said, I don't care if you don't eat it. He said, I gotta see how much you can eat. There's no problem, Sarge. I cleaned that tray up. He looked at me and he shook his head. He said, I do not believe it. He said, I've seen hungry men eat. I've never seen anybody eat like you just did. 3 complete dinners in one. Well, I said, when you get hungry and get starved, you're going to start eating. And that's what I'm doing.
How much weight did you lose when you were in the prison camp?
Well, I weighed 158 when I was drafted, and I pretty much carried that same weight all the way through until the prison camp. When I was relieved, rescued from prison camp, I would guess that I weighed something like...
You'll have to turn it over. Hold on a second.
That's not on. It didn't go all the way down. Yep, now it's down.
Okay.
But I didn't...
Your weight loss.
my weight, I figured to be in the 70s, 170. Not even 170, just in the 70s. That's how much weight I lost. I was nothing but skin and bone.
But you made up for having those 3 steaks.
It started. Back when I got home from furlough, I couldn't keep enough eggs in the house. I'd eat 2, 3, 4 eggs in a meal for breakfast, along with everything else. My father-in-law, he couldn't believe it. He said, I'm sorry, I can't help it. Then when I opened my suitcase that first day, I started pulling cartons of cigarettes out, his eyes bulged out. He says, where'd you get the cigarettes? He says, I stopped in 3 bars trying to get a place where I can get 1 pack a day. I said, well, I says, this is your brand. I threw him a carton. I said, they're not for sale. You can't buy them, and you don't sell them, because they got tax-free stamps on them. So I got every one of my relatives that smoked a carton of cigarettes. And I didn't run out. Because I had 18 or 19 cartons of cigarettes when I came home, between my duffel bag and my suitcase. My duffel bag was about 2 weeks later coming.
So you traded it off for some more eggs and some more food, huh?
I stayed with my in-laws when I first got home because I had no other place. And I got along good. I fixed my car while I was there. I had a 39 Buick at the time, and I redone the front end on it, new kingpins and so on. And I done it in his gravel driveway. He says, I don't know, he says, you've done a good job. He says, I got trouble with my car when I got discharged. He says, would you take my car motor apart? He drives a big Buick too. He said, take the car motor apart, and get it rebored and new pistons and everything. If you want it done, you're paying the bill, I'll do it. No charge on the labor. So he was working down at the boat area at the time when I boat. I got the car done, I drove it down there, it was about a mile away. And come see what you think of your car.
Your family in my prayers, I don't know how soon you're gonna be leaving. I'm working in here
Come up there,
tomorrow, but I'll
put
be
his
here.
hand on the fender. He says, well, why don't you start it up so I can see?
Frankie Lee,
I says, you don't have to see nothing, just raise the hood, it's running.
have a safe flight and all that. That-
He couldn't believe it, the car was idling that smooth and that quiet. I said, well, take care of it, that's the way it is. You pay for the reboring and new pistons and the parts, and I said, I've done the work.
So it sounds as if you adjusted to civilian life real quick.
I had to, I had a family to take care of. And I bought some property where I live, and I built my garage, a two-car garage, and I started from there, lived in the garage while I built the house. In '56, I think it was, I moved into the house. I've been in it ever since.
Were there any other experiences that while you were in the service that, did you see any USO shows or anything before you went overseas?
I've seen a couple, but I didn't pay much attention to them. They had USO clubs around, but I didn't dance, so I didn't bother going. So that's what bothers my wife. I still don't try and make a fool of myself, but I try.
Are there any other experiences that you had in the service that you might want to have recorded for posterity?
Well, there was one in prison camp that there's a couple in prison camp. But mostly the first one was over 300 of us in a march. And two German guards, one in the lead, one at the tail end, to make sure we all stayed together. And we were hiking, I didn't know at the time, but we were on their supply line. Visibility, you couldn't see from here to the ceiling. But we could hear our planes. We didn't know where they were, what they were doing. But they started hollering us. We stopped in this little town. Girls and ladies coming out of the house giving us a glass of water. I didn't get no water. They started hollering, let's go, rush me, go. We started marching. We just got out of town. We heard these bombs coming. We knew they were coming after us. They were our planes. They didn't know we were on it. So someone dealt solid rock up on this side, solid rock down, and just the road through there. Some went face up again that side, some went over the side, and I went flat on my belly on the road, and I covered my head with my arms. And you hear them bombs coming down, and they hit either end of us. And I was like a board, bouncing on the road. And all that dirt and rocks are falling on me. I thought, well, I'm waiting for that big one to hit me and put me out. And everything quieted down. And I stopped, looked around. Everything's black. Where it was all snow when I laid down there. So I got up and I started looking around. The shape of my body on the road was white where I was laying. Everything else was dirt, black dirt. And there was only one person got a little injury on that deal, and that was the lead guard. Who was leading the, he had a scratch on his jaw. It drew blood, but that was it. He was still normal. Well, he was a real good guy. And we start marching, we got all back together and start marching, got down where the second bomb hit. Here's one of the supply trucks that hit right at the front wheel. And that truck is sitting like this. And the driver had the seat out, sitting beside the hole, and he was bleeding, and his face was bleeding, but he was conscious and normal. And we just kept right on walking. We couldn't help him. So what happened to him later, I have no idea. So I don't think he was a serviceman, though. I think he was a civilian that just got caught in the downpour there. But, then, there was another time in prison camp, we were so loaded with, lice, you couldn't stand to live with yourself hardly. And there was two big long barracks that we were in. And one guy from the other barracks, he was so covered with lice, his eyes, his nose, his mouth, it was just all over him. And they told him to get cleaned up, or we're going to put you outside. And he didn't give a damn. So they took him out and put him on the road. He laid there, and he died. And the lice still crawling on him. And we'd go out in the spring, in warmer weather, and we'd strip our clothes off on the sunny side of the building outside, and we'd start cracking eggs in all the seams of our clothes, and hope we got them, but we knew we didn't. Put our clothes back on, the next day, here we are scratching again. Start all over, and that's the way we lived for all the time we were prisoners.
So how many total days or weeks did you spend as a prisoner?
Well, I was a prisoner from January 4th, 95, 45 I mean, until around 2000 I guess, somewhere in there. We were liberated. And I'll tell you, the English Army liberated us, and the first thing they'd done, they took us down, marched us down, in a row of showers. This side is the shower, this side is where you take your clothes off. When I'm in the shower, this soldier come up and he says, "Is there any part of these clothes you want to save?" I said, "Just them shoes and my belt. I need a belt to hold my pants up." He says, "Okay." I never did see them again, but there's all brand new clothes, U.S. Army clothes waiting for me.
But you kept those British shoes.
I kept the shoes, there was nothing wrong with them.
That makes an interesting story.
I liked wearing them 3 minutes.
Well, the government appreciates your service. You undertook a lot of hardship, but you survived, and you're among the survivors. And it's interesting that you would have your experiences preserved for posterity. And the government, the United States of America, appreciates your service, sir.
I thank you.
Thanks a million.